بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أفضل المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد. It is my pleasure to be with you here today in this program on Ramadan prep and Quran weekly. It is a few days from Ramadan. Ramadan is on the doors, and the question that comes to mind, are we ready? Are we feeling the blessing that's Allah placed before us? What comes to your heart? Are you excited? Are you elated? What is your state? Are you looking forward for Ramadan? This program, inshallah, deals with this issue. Many questions comes to one's mind now when Ramadan is on the doors. Some of us are looking, what are the best ways to prepare? Tell me about something that I can do now, that when I enter Ramadan, I would be entering with a momentum. I would be entering running. I would be entering in such a way that will allow me to benefit, to reap from the fruits of this month, to maximize, if you will, optimize my performance, in another language, in this blessed month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. Others are looking for motivation. My heart feels dead. My heart I'm not excited. I know I should be. I know that Ramadan is such a blessed month, but I feel it's becoming like a routine. It's becoming like a aada. Where, when you do something so many times in your life, sometimes we even complain. How about salah? How about our prayers? Oftentimes we complain, I'm doing it. I know Ramadan is coming. I know I should be excited. But my heart feels that, can you tell me something? Is there something that I can do now that will change the state of my heart? That I enter Ramadan with a heart that's in a different state, in a state of awe and in a state of happiness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Others are looking for, I want to transform. Ramadan is the month of transformation. Will this Ramadan be the month that I will change forever? Ramadan is the month many people change in Ramadan. And is this Ramadan going to be the month that I will change completely, break my habits, be a new person? Will it transform me? Will it change me? Other people are looking in general for happiness. I just want to be happy. And many people, I've been sad for so long, I live in anxiety. I'm looking for happiness. And I would say the month of Ramadan is the month of happiness. It is an opportunity by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today, I try to share with you something that would allow us to enter Ramadan, inshallah, with a different focus. And it will answer the question of many of, I want to be able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in such a way with khushu'. Yes, I know I'm going to pray, inshallah, but I want to be able to pray, and my prayers has sincerity in it, has that I pray and that I see tears coming out of my eyes. I want my heart to be present in everything I do in Ramadan. Basically, I'm asking for ihsan. I'm asking that I perfect my performance of worship and everything else in this Ramadan. And I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enable me to do that even after Ramadan. Is there a way? Can we share something that enables us to attain that? One of the best things to do before Ramadan. How can I prepare? And I'll share with you a concept that, inshallah, I hope you find useful, and it will answer many of those questions. And inshallah, if we interiorize it, inshallah, this Ramadan will be a blessed Ramadan for all of us. And it's a very simple concept. Did you ever worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the ubudiyyah of happiness, with the ubudiyyah of farha? Did you ever worship Allah with the worship of being happy, being joyful, being elated? I heard about people worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being afraid. Some people worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala crying in tears. Some worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala standing. Some people worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by exerting, by giving, by sacrificing, giving wealth, doing things. All those are great worships, but this worship of being happy is a worship that is unique. And I think one of the best types of worships that we can do right now before Ramadan is this worship of happiness. Where do I get that from? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says in Surah Yunus, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, قل بفضل الله وبرحمته فبذلك فليفرحوا هو خير مما يجمعون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, say, with the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His blessings, with that, فليفرحوا, let them rejoice, let them be happy. Indeed, it is better than everything that we gather around and we collect. This is the ubudiyyah of happiness. a simple example to bring it to your mind more, and then I'll go into the details of the lecture of today. Wallahi, I learned this, to be honest with you, from my own kids. It was one Ramadan and it was Eid, and they both came, and one of them said, Baba, yes, I want in this Eid, I want 10 gifts from you. 10 from you and 10 from Mama. And then I decided that Eid, you know what, I will, inshallah. And alhamdulillah, Allah enabled me, and it was collecting all the gifts and wrapping them around and putting them in the living room. And you should see, the kids were so excited. The kids were so happy. As the Eid approached, one of the things they kept doing is what? Is it Eid yet? Please, can I open the gift? Please, can you give it to me? That attitude of them, knowing that they are going to receive a gift, was one of the things that I personally enjoyed. I was so happy that I'm going to give them. And I was so happy to see them happy in me giving them. And I learned something. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always gives us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the giver, He's the wahhab. He gives and He gives. How do we receive? Imagine if I got all the gifts for my kids and I tell them, it is Eid, here are the gifts, I prepared them for you, and they say, oh, later. Okay, do I have to come? Must I come now? That is so ungrateful. One of the best things they can do is to be excited, to be happy, to show me their excitement and their yearning, and that they can't wait, and to be begging, please, 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 can I have it? And that's, subhanallah, what you find, the dua that many scholars tell you about, and in the narration, Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. That one of the best things that we do now, that we put our hearts in it. Oh Allah, grant us, please make us reach Ramadan. It's one of the best things to do now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give us a gift. And this is what we're going to be talking about, the gift of Ramadan. And how I receive the gift matters a lot. If I show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I'm excited, I'm happy, I can't wait, I'm pleading for Him, please, and I'm happy with Him giving, that is so pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it has an effect on me. But the key to it is that I see the gift. If I don't see the gift, if I don't know the value of the gift, even if I give you a gift, some people won't even open it. They don't realize what it is. They take it, put it on the shelf. Next year they take another gift. You never opened the gift. You never realized what I wanted to give you. You lost so much. So from that's why Muslims sometimes we feel happy. And this is the first question. Are you happy? Are we happy? When Ramadan comes, Muslims feel, and subhanallah, again, I share this concept again with you, and this is the beginning of the concept I want to share with you of happiness of the righteous, if you will, true happiness, and how to pursue true happiness and find true happiness. And I learned it again, subhanallah, it was Ramadan, and I went to one of the restaurants, and my kids were there, and I was ordering some food for them. And the guy there knows me, so once he sees me in, and he says, okay, let me get you your sandwich. And I say, oh, I can't. Why? And I said, well, I'm fasting. Fasting? What does that mean? So I started to explain to him, we fast, and it starts at Fajr time, when the sun rises all the way till sunset. And the man was, what? You mean to tell me you're not eating at all? The whole day? From the moment the sun rises till the sunset? Oh, that is so difficult. And then, let me get you a glass of water. And I said, I can't drink either. What? You can't drink? You mean to tell me you're not eating and you're not drinking the entire day? That is so hard. And then he started saying something. I can never do this. This is impossible. This is so. What day do you do that in? Which day is that? And then you should see his face when I started to tell him, well, it's not just one day. We do that for 30 days. It's the month of Ramadan. And the man was, 30 days? 30 days you do this? This is undoable. I can never do this. This is undoable. And for him it seemed impossible. It seemed like a burden. How can you bear this? And that is the key. Look at this. Yes, indeed, by myself it's impossible. But in the month of Ramadan, many of us, we enter Ramadan, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables us to do this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables us to fast. But you know what? It doesn't even start to explain why we're happy in the month of Ramadan. And imagine if I were to tell him this, the real reason I'm happy in the month of Ramadan, the reason I'm elated, the reason that makes me every year yearn for this month to come again and again, is what happens even after we break our fast. What do you mean? I mean, if somebody's fasting the entire day, it's time to break your fast. You break your fast and you would imagine then you'd be resting. Then you tell people, no, we break our fast and we hurry to the masjid. Why? What are you going to be doing in the mosque? Well, we're going to be praying. Taraweeh. Some 8 rak'ahs, 20 rak'ahs, 1 hour, 2 hours. We pray with 1 juz. Some people pray with 2 juz. Really? Every night? Every night. And subhanAllah, that's so hard. We're going to be finishing. We read the Quran. We do dhikr. We do more dua. We pray taraweeh. How on earth do we do that? The reason we are happy, the reason Muslims are happy in Ramadan, it is the month of obedience. It is the month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows the likes of me to be able to do all those kind of things. I ask you, 1 week before Ramadan, 1 week, and 1 week after Ramadan, if I ask many people, are you fasting Mondays and Thursdays? It is the sunnah. Brother, it is so hard. I cannot do it. I wish I can, but it's so hard. What if I tell you, I want you to fast Mondays and Thursdays, and at the same time, I want you to stand at night for 1 and 2 hours, pray with 1 juz of the Quran, 2 juz of the Quran. I can't do it. But the month of Ramadan comes, and by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only me, you find the mosques, the masajid are full. People, regular people that 1 week before Ramadan could never do this. 1 week after Ramadan cannot do this. In the month of Ramadan, they are doing that. They are fasting during the daytime. They're obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the daytime. And in the night time, they spend it in dhikr and in dua and in salah. And the best thing, you can even tell people, the best thing is the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Very special. Why? Because in those 10 nights of Ramadan, even after we break our fast and after Taraweeh, we go home. We sleep, then we wake up. Wake up? Why? 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Why? So I can go to the masjid again. And then I can pray tahajjud again. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables us to do in Ramadan is His gift. The gift of Ramadan is the gift of obedience. The reason I am elated, the reason I look forward to Ramadan, the reason it is the opportunity when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manifests His attribute, Al-Mu'een, the one that aids, and aids everyone by His generosity with all what we're doing, with all our sins, with all our negativities, and Allah bestows His rahmah on everyone and enables us, empowers us enough, gives us a gift He doesn't give to anyone, the gift of standing between His hands. And ladhat al-ta'ah, the pleasure of being in obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah, scholars, and that's what many scholars said, they said, Masakeen ahl dunya, poor are the people of this world. They lived the long life and they went out of the life of this world and they didn't taste the best thing in it. And when they were asked, what is the best thing in it? They said, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, longing for Him and being in solace with Him. This is Jannat al-Ta'ah, the paradise of obedience, the paradise of Ramadan, the ability to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To understand that more, I share with you an example, a true story that happened in Egypt. And this was a young girl in her 20s. And she's a Muslim, born in a Muslim family and everything, but she's far away from the deen. She's not serious, doesn't pray, misses a lot of prayers, not wearing the hijab, far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But everything else is good. Her life is good, and she's from a good family. Everything is working out for her. And one day she feels a little bit sick and she goes to the doctor. And the doctor runs some tests and he tells her, I'm sorry to inform you, you have cancer. And subhanallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us, it is terminal and I can do nothing. There is nothing at all to be done. You only have 2 months to live. That's it. And she said, since I have only 2 months to live, what can I do? Since I'm going to die anyway, she started to pray. She said, I started to go and pray. I started, let me fast. I started, let me give charity. And then she said, actually she started wearing the hijab. And then she started to pray more. And subhanallah, a month passes, 2 months, 3 months, nothing happened. And she's saying, I'm feeling actually better. What's going on? And she goes to the same doctor again and she says, nothing happened, I'm feeling okay. And the doctor starts running the same tests again. And he comes back, surprised. What happened? Are you the same person? There is no trace of cancer whatsoever. What did you do? Where did you go? Who treated you? How did you do this? And then she started sharing this concept with him. This is the concept we're speaking about. She said, when I started doing all the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I started to pray in the beginning. And I used to pray, put my hand on where the cancer is and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make dua sincerely for Allah to cure me. And then I started to fast. And then I would break my fast and do the same thing, ask Allah to cure me. And then I started to give charity. And then I started to wear hijab. And then I tasted the sweetness of obedience. When I tasted the sweetness of obedience and what it means to make dua between the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the pleasure of being in salah, the pleasure of having focus in salah, the pleasure of obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I changed my dua. I started making the following supplication for Allah. Ya Allah, please, I beg of you, cure me so I can worship you more. I want to live now. Not so that I can go back to the mall or watch different. I want to live so that I can worship you more. I'm so sorry. I lived 20 years. I didn't know what I was missing. I was a fool. Ya Allah, please forgive me. Allow me to live so that I can live in this Jannah, this paradise of this life. And that's what scholars said. The likes of Ibn al-Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah, they tell you, in this life, في الدنيا جنة, من لم يدخلها لم يدخل جنة الآخرة. In this life, there is a paradise. There is paradise that is here. And whoever does not enter this paradise here will not be admitted to the paradise in the hereafter. And when they ask, what paradise are you speaking about? He said, Jannatul Ta'a. The obedience and the pleasure and the Jannah of obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being connected to Him. And subhanallah, Ibn al-Jawzi in his Sifat al-Safwa narrates something very similar. That he calls it Abida from al-Basra. We don't know her name. This woman who's a Basriya from the city of Basra in Iraq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve their condition. And he records that every night she used to wake up and she used to pray. And then he recorded one of her dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She used to say, إلهي ما طابت الدنيا إلا بذكرك ولا الآخرة إلا بلقائك وما أمر ساعة تمر ولا تذكر أنت فيها إلهي لا تجمع علي شيئين فقد رحمتك وحلول عقابك. She used to say, إلهي, my dear God, oh Allah, sincerely begging إلهي, this world ما طابت الدنيا إلا بذكرك, this world that I live in is not good, is not pleasurable except with your remembrance. And akhirah, the hereafter, is not good except because we get to meet you, we get to be with you. And then she said, how bitter is an hour of my life that passes that you are not remembered and not mentioned in. And then she begged of him, oh God, oh dear God, please do not combine on me two things, that I lose on your mercy and your rahmah and your love, and that I deserve your punishment. This is Jannat al-Ta'a. This is why Ramadan is special for us. Yes, happiness, when we speak about the concept of happiness, many people seek happiness. What makes me happy? This is the question. What makes a Muslim happy? What makes you happy? Do you want to be happy? And I can respond to you, I tell you, sometimes happiness is not good. Would you be happy that your child is happy smoking a cigarette? I'm not happy. He's happy smoking a cigarette. I'm not happy that he's happy smoking a cigarette. Would you be happy that your son is happy reciting Quran? I will be happy that his happiness is in reciting Quran. And that's what I say as a Muslim. I am happy that my happiness is in what makes Allah happy. I love the fact that I love what Allah loves. This is the happiness of angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran did not say that only believers are happy. He actually said that even non-believers, people that go astray, they can feel joy too. In Surah Muhammad, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يَتَمَتَّعُونَ وَيَأْكُلُونَ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ الْأَنْعَامُ وَالنَّارُ مَثْوًى لَهُمْ. Those who disbelieve, ungrateful people, yes, they enjoy and they feel happiness. And then Allah says, like cattle, in drinking and eating and entertainment, they are happy with eating and drinking and more entertainment. And then says, like cattle, like a cow, and then they end up in the hellfire. The happiness, when my happiness becomes drinking, eating, entertainment, more of that, this is a happiness of a cow. This is a happiness of a beast. Am I created to be that way? And Ramadan gives me the opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the opportunity to taste a higher form of happiness. Yes, there is pleasure in good food. But is that it? The angelic pleasure, what makes an angel happy? Dhikr, dua, remembrance, salah. Imagine a person whose happiness, his heart is happy with that. This person has an angelic happiness. This is a happiness of the heart. This is happiness of the angels. This is happiness of the righteous. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to have. This is the gift, if you will. Ramadan is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He wants to give us. He wants us to taste what it means to be happy as an angel. And subhanallah, you find that one concept, we are so happy to receive a gift. When somebody gives me a gift, sometimes I'm so happy that he gives me a gift. I'm happy with obedience. And Ibn Ata'illah secondary says, كَفَى مِنْ جَزَائِهِ إِيَّاكَ عَلَى الطَّاعَةِ أَنْ رَضِيَهَا لَكَ أَهْلًا. It suffices from a reward that you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reward of it, it suffices that He saw that you are befitting enough to be given that ta'ah. The fact that He chose me. You know, when you're giving somebody gives you a Nobel Prize, what does it mean? It means he's honoring me. When somebody in my class tells me stand up and they give me a medal and they recognize me, the fact that they recognize me, the fact that they saw that I'm fitting enough to be given that, if you will, that is a Nobel Prize. Not everyone takes it. You have to be someone special. So when you take a Nobel Prize, what does it mean? That we recognize you are special. The ta'ah, the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not given to anyone. This world, the life of this world, pleasure, money, food, a believer and a non-believer can have. But the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables me to obey Him, the very first thing I see is what He honored me with. Not only that I'm obeying Him, not only that I'm finding, what does it mean that He gave me that gift? That I'm special in His eyes. And this is the other meaning I want to focus on. The core of this lecture. The Lord of Ramadan. Not the gift, but the giver. Sometimes when we receive a gift, sometimes when somebody gives us something so valuable, we receive it, we look at it, we're so much consumed by it that we forget about the giver. I told you about my kids. Guess what happened when I showed them all and they were so happy with 20 gifts. And you can try it with your kids and look what they started opening the gifts. But what about Baba? What about I was gone? Now it's all about give me the toy, it's my toy, I want. When you do that, you miss the bigger gift. What am I speaking about? There is something that's bigger than the gift. What does it mean that I give them 20 toys? Yeah, they have 20 toys, the room is full of toys, they can play with it. Alhamdulillah, but there is a bigger meaning. What is it? Why did I give them 20 toys? What am I telling them by giving them 20 toys? I love you so much. If they saw the 20 toys and they did not see my love, they missed out on the most important. The meaning behind the gift. And this is what I'm speaking about. When we see Ramadan coming, a month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enable me to pray Taraweeh, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I ask of Him to enable me to pray Tahajjud, to enables me to fast 30 consecutive days, even in summer, and work. It's not I'm sleeping in the end, work. That's a gift. But what does it mean to you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the gift? What does it mean? What does it imply? He wants to give. What does He want by giving? What did He do? And this is what I'm speaking about. Did we see the Lord of Ramadan? We see that I fasted, I prayed. What did Allah do for me that enabled me to do this? And there is a hadith that I'm going to share with you, and that by observing the Lord of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you see ar-rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you see His pardoning, you see His forgiveness, you see His generosity. That opens the heart. The reason, if you want your ibadah to be focused, if you want your ibadah to be in ihsan, I have to see Allah. What is ihsan? Is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you see Him. Without seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or without seeing that He's close to me, without seeing His attributes, without seeing His rahmah that surrounds me, without seeing what He's doing for me, of course my ibadah will be dry, of course my salah will have no khushu'. But if I see what Allah did to me, it will empower me, it will make me yearn to go to Ramadan, it will make, I can't wait. And when you look to what happens in Ramadan, there is a hadith I'm going to share with you. And this is a sahih hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah in Ibn Majah. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do for me in Ramadan? Not what I obey Him with. And this hadith says, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إِذَا كَانَتْ أَوَّلْ لَيْلَ مِنْ رَمَضَانِ. When it is the first night of Ramadan, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to start The first thing, صفدت الشياطين ومرضت الجن وغلقت أبواب النار فلم يفتح منها باب وفتحت أبواب الجنة فلم يغلق منها باب. The very first thing, when it is the very first day of Ramadan, we all know one of the very first things according to this hadith that Allah will do is what? The very first night, all the shayateen, all the devils are chained, shackled. Oftentimes we complain, oh brother, I want to be good, but this shaitan, he's all over. He whispers, I can't get rid of him. He's invisible. He keeps telling me, he keeps with, I'm so sick and tired of this enemy of mine that doesn't sleep. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first thing, before I do anything, your enemy, I'm going to chain him. I'm going to take him away. And look at the rest of the hadith. So, I'm going to chain away your shaitan and I'm going to replace him. The hadith continues. وَنَادَ مُنَادِي يَا بَاغِي الْخَيْرَ أَقْبِلْ وَيَا بَاغِي الشَّرَّ أَقْصِرْ. I'm going to replace this shaitan. Every day in Ramadan, there is an angel that's going to be calling, oh one who seeks to do good, come forward. Oh one who intends evil, stay put. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now replace shaitan with an angel that every day calls up to us, pushes us to do good, so that he enables me to do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shuts all the gates of hellfire in this month, opens all the gates of Jannah. What does that mean? This is what we look. Why is Allah doing this? What does it mean to you that Allah, He's telling you, I'm shutting nar, like no more hellfire. Please, it is the month of forgiveness. It is the month of opportunity. I want to give you something. I'm holding your enemy away. I want to empower you in this month. And then, what else does Allah do subhanahu wa ta'ala for us in this month? We often complain, brothers and sisters, I want to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but peer pressure makes it so difficult. One reason we can't fast Mondays and Thursdays, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to do that, is it's very difficult to do so. I go to work, nobody's fasting, especially in a non-Muslim country. It's very hard. I feel peer pressure sometimes breaks us. Sometimes we want to do something good, and all of us understand what peer pressure is. In this month, what does Allah do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commands every single Muslim on earth. You know our ummah with its state, many see our ummah as helpless, worthless. Look at what this ummah is going to do. Once the month of Ramadan comes, every Muslim on earth, China, United States, Canada, Egypt, Syria, everyone is fasting. You go to your community, everyone is fasting. Why is that important? Because now the peer pressure is not against, it is for me. When I find that all my friends are fasting, everyone is going to the masjid, everyone is going to pray Taraweeh, I join in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders everyone to fast so that we can, if you will, capitalize on the iman of each other. The fact that you're fasting, she's fasting, my mother is fasting, my brother is fasting. Now if I feel tired, when I see all of you fasting, it empowers me. Khalas, I'll fast. I'm so tired, I don't want to go to the masjid, but he's going, she's going. He tells me, Yalla, finish iftar because we want to go to Taraweeh. You're all going. It becomes easier for me to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders the entire ummah to fast together. So we can capitalize on each other. So that our strength, if you will, adds up towards one direction, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many of us don't, notice in the other hadith when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the blessings of this month, and this is another hadith, also you find it in Tirmidhi, that whoever does something good in this month, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies it by 70. What does that mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, anything you do in this month, multiply by 70. If you read Quran 5 days in Ramadan, multiply by 70, it looks like you've been reading Quran the entire year. If you pray Taraweeh 5 days, multiply by 70, it looks like you've been praying Taraweeh the entire year. Wow. Anything I do is multiplied by 70. You give $10, it looks like 700. You go for Umrah 70 times. It's like Hajj, as the other hadith narrates. Allah, when I look to this, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why did Allah do this? He's pushing me forward. He's pushing me, act. If you were not praying tahajjud, pray tahajjud. If you were not praying sunnah, I want to give you. I'm giving. The reason I'm telling you it's worth times 70 so you would do it. He's pushing me to obey Him. He wants to give. He's looking for a reason. Do something. Anything. I multiplied by 70. Any reason for Him to give me. And you can see Al-Wahhab. He wants to give. Allah wants to give. I have to learn how to receive. Some of us, when Allah wants to give so much, don't receive. This is an opportunity to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that way, that he wants to help me. He's pushing me towards him. And then some of us would say, brother, it's still so hard. Even with all this, sometimes I cannot do what you're saying. And oh, subhanallah, look at another thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does in Ramadan, and please don't miss on that one. This Ramadan, have the intention for it, inshallah. In the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he tells us, in the month of Ramadan, من فطر فيه صائما كان مغفرة لذنوبه وعتق رقبته من النار وكان له مثل أجره من غير أن ينقص من أجره شيء. Whoever, if your brother is fasting, if your sister is fasting, whoever invites someone for iftar, and you give him food that he would have his iftar on and break his fast on, you would have the reward of that person. Whatever that person did during the entire day, all his siyam, all his dhikr, all his Quran, all his tahajjud, all his taraweeh, I have the likes of it. When I look to this, I say, now I know what I should be doing. I'm going to go to the masjid. Do you have a sheikh in the masjid? I better, sheikh, you must come. I'm going to invite you. I can't miss on that. I'm going, and some people say, I'm going to invite the entire masjid. Please do that. Can you imagine one night, you bring food for the entire masjid. Everyone that eats, every single one, you have the reward. Even if you didn't, do it. And subhanallah, when I look to this, and I remind especially sisters, subhanallah, you cook so much in Ramadan. Have the intention. We miss on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much because of lack of intention. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are the intentions. If I'm going to cook, have the intentions. I'm going to cook today, and I'm going to invite people. And sisters, the food that you prepare, people that you invite, sometimes you feel, I spent 3 hours cooking while they were praying and reading Quran, but I give them the iftar. And then just giving them that, now I have the reward. And when I read this, subhanAllah, how easy did Allah make it for us. And this tells me, Allah wants to give so much. Allah wants us to be forgiven in that month. And subhanAllah, another hadith narrated in Musnad Ahmad that also shows you what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. Even the universe changes. This hadith, let me put it to you that way. What if I tell you, you need Allah to forgive you, right? And oftentimes, I need Allah to forgive me. And I ask brothers, please, can you please make dua for me? Make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives me. What if I tell you that in the month of Ramadan, you have hundreds of millions that are making dua for you personally, every day, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants you forgiveness. Hundreds of millions making dua for me, what are you speaking about? Read this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Musnad Ahmad, when he says the following: even the fish in the sea seeks forgiveness for those who fast till they break their fast. Are you fasting? Yes. How many fish are there in the Atlantic Ocean? How about the Pacific Ocean? All the fish in the sea are making dua for you. But every single fish, hundreds of millions of them, are making dua for you because you're fasting, and till you break your fast, they're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. And when you see this, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala subjected even the universe. Muslims, they are Muslims. The fish in the sea, they're Muslims too. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in the Quran. أَفَغَيْرَ دِينِ اللَّهِ يَبْغُونَ وَلَهُ أَسْلَمَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Is it other than the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala they seek, when everything in the heavens and the earth, أَسْلَمَ, submits, they're Muslims, submits to Him. Fish is a Muslim. Our fellow Muslims. And sometimes, wallahi subhanAllah, you pass by them and you're fasting, you're in Walmart or something, and the fish tank is by, and see some fish swimming. Salaam jazakumullah khair, for making dua for me. I'm not joking. This is how we bring those ahadith to life. This is how we stay focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those are not jokes, those are real. And this fish will witness to you on the day of judgment. So I pass by and I know he's a Muslim too. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells me, if I'm fasting, He's making dua for me. Jazakumullah khair. And I stay focused. It brings happiness to my heart. That I'm connected. So many people are. And one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also grants us in Ramadan, in fasting, and you all know this, a person who's fasting is, when you break your fast, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that when we break our fast, our dua is mustajab. The moment, alhamdulillah, you've been fasting, and now it's time for iftar, and you start eating, what's your dua? Don't you need anything? Anything you want, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you. So now this is an opportunity. Allah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making you fast 30 days. You have 30 opportunities. Do you need something? Do you want something? This is the time to ask for it. Allah is telling you, I'm willing to give you. Ask, I'll give you. I'm going to respond to it. He's not going to turn it down. And the question, did I set my dua? When I see that Allah is wanting to give, he's telling me, ask. Come and ask. It's time now. I should not enter Ramadan haphazardly and then wait till it's time for iftar. And what should I be making dua for? No, I should set my dua now. I should set it now. Did you prepare your dua for Ramadan? What do you need? What do you want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I'll give you a story. This happened here in our locality, in this masjid I'm sitting in right now, which is in Mission Viejo, California. And I remember it was 2008 actually. And it was Ramadan, and it was the very first day of Ramadan. I still remember it. And notice something, the very first day in Ramadan. When does it start? Usually people come in Taraweeh, in Isha prayers. But if you notice carefully, the first day of Ramadan starts when? Maghrib. When the sun sets, Maghrib Salah, that is the first Salah in Ramadan. That Ramadan is then. And I was there in the masjid in Maghrib, and people, they come in Isha, they're not there. So I'm there, and very few people are there. And I noticed something. This brother came in, and as soon as the adhan was made, Allahu Akbar, Allah, the adhan is made, it's Ramadan. I saw this brother, like, he ran outside, wrote something, a check, he puts it in the charity box. And then he started coming back intensely in dua. And I was like, subhanallah, something is going on. And I tried to learn. So I approached him. I said, what's going on? And he said, isn't it Ramadan? Isn't this Ramadan? I said, yes. He said, didn't Ramadan start now? I said, yes. And he said, I know that everyone is going to be coming to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Isha. I know that all of them are going to be here in Isha. I wanted to be the first. I wanted my charity to be the first charity in Ramadan. I wanted my dua to be the very first dua in Ramadan. I wanted to be the first. And then I was taken back. And he said, brother, you don't know I'm sick. I'm sick. That's why I'm doing this. And you know the hadith, داووا مرضاكم بالصدقات. When you're sick, you find curement of your sickness in giving charity. And he said, this is why I'm doing this. And he doesn't look sick. So I just stood beside him and watched what he's doing. And he started making this dua. Look at this. Allahumma tahhir qalbi min maswak. Allahumma tahhir qalbi min al-kibr. Allahumma tahhir qalbi min al-hasad. Allahumma tahhir qalbi min al-riyah. Oh Allah, cleanse my heart from everything other than you. Oh Allah, cleanse my heart from arrogance. Cleanse my heart from envy. Cleanse my heart from self-admiration. Cleanse my heart from showing off. He sees that his heart is sick. Did you ever think of that? If I have a sick heart, if I have a heart is not enjoying worship, I know now what I should be asking for this month of Ramadan. I'm going to set my dua the 30th. And you know what he told me, that brother? He said, I'm going to be making this dua the 30 days. I'm going to be making this dua after every salah. I'm sick. Can you imagine if I enter Ramadan with that focus, with that insisting in dua? You will leave Ramadan and you will be transformed. So one should set. And when I heard him, by the way, I can tell you, I knew my dua immediately. For that year I said, I know my dua. He thinks he has a sick heart. So he's saying, asking Allah to purify his heart. I think I don't have a heart. I think my heart is dead. I'm not like him. قد كان لي قلب أعيش به فضاع مني في تقلبه ربي رد إلي قلبي فقد ضاق صدري في تطلبه. I used to have a heart by which I lived with, and I lost it in one of its flip-flops. It turned away. And then this poetry says, oh dear God, oh my Lord, return my heart back to me. My chest is imploding in seeking it. This is how I felt. So ask Allah to give you a heart if you don't have a heart. Ask Allah to guide someone in my family. Ask Allah for Syria. Ask Allah for the Ummah. Ask Allah for the people in the United States and the West. There are so many things that we can ask for. And this brings us into something, and subhanAllah, related to what we're saying. What is the best dua? I want to enter this month. I want the best dua ever. What is the best dua? Did you ever think of this? What is the best dua ever? Scholars discuss this intensely, and of course, subhanAllah, you'll be amazed. You already know it. Everyone knows this best dua. What am I speaking about? Return to the example. If I have kids, and I tell them, I love you, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Ramadan is showing us, Allah wants to give. Ask. So I go to my kids and, subhanAllah, this example, of course, the difference, ليس كمثله شيء. And I go to my kids and tell them, I love you so much. Ask. If you ask, I want to give you. Ask. So one of them, he's a kid, I want candy. Okay, candy. And the other, I want $100. Okay, $100. Right? Is that it? Is that all what you want? And here comes another kid that's smarter. And he looks at me and he tells me the following. Baba, I'm but a kid. I don't know what's best for me. I don't know what's good for me. But I know one thing. One thing I know for a fact. I know that you love me. I know that you want good for me. I'm sure that whatever you want, Allah is greater than this. So one of my kids who's more intelligent, he starts saying, Baba, I am but a kid. I don't know what's good for me. But there is one thing that I know. And I know for a fact, I know with certainty, I know that you love me. And I know you want good for me. And I know that you are the best person to tell me what to have. Baba, I know one thing. Since you are the one that loves me, you always want the best for me. The best thing for me must be what you ask me to do. And therefore, Baba, I ask you for one thing. I ask you to help me do what you want. Because what you want is the best thing for me. I'm sure about that, even if I don't like it. Even if it seems hard for me. Even if it means I go to school. Even if it means... But I'm sure. Because you love me. Because I see what you are. And I see your generosity. And I see how much you love me. I'm sure of it. So please, I ask of you, help me do what you want. That's exactly what we do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, what is the best dua that you can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of? And Ibn Ata'illah secondary, many scholars said it. Ibn Ata'illah secondary says, خَيْرَ مَا تَطْلُبُهُ مِنْ مَا هُوَ طَالِبُهُ مِنْ. The best thing to ask from Him, from Allah, is what He asks from you. Ya Allah, you want me to pray? That must be the best thing for me. Help me pray. You want me to fast? That must be the best thing for me. Help me fast. And therefore you find it in the advice of the Prophet ﷺ in the very famous hadith to Mu'adh when he says, Oh, Ya Mu'adh, inni la uhibbuk. Oh Mu'adh, by Allah, I love you. And then he tells him, this is a gift of love. When you love someone, he commands him to do something. After every salah, do not leave this dua ever. After every salah, ask Allah the following. Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrik wa shukrik wa husni ibadatik. Oh Allah, a'inni, aid me. Help me to ala dhikrik, your remembrance, wa shukrik, asking, being thankful to you, wa husn ibadatik, worshiping you in the best possible way. Help me worship. Ibn al-Qayyim, in Madarij al-Salikin, and Ibn Taymiyyah, and Ibn al-Harawi, and many other people, Ibn Taymiyyah literally says this, I looked for the best dua. What is the dua, best dua? And I found it is the following. To ask Allah to enable you to gain His contentment. To ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will be pleased with you. And then he said, I looked and I found it in Surah Al-Fatiha. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You and only you we worship. And you and only you we seek aid from. We seek aid from you to help you, to help us worship you. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. looking onto this, now you understand the different meaning that relates to what we're speaking about. The best dua ever, since it is so important. Many people never thought about it. Did you ever think what is the best dua? Many people didn't think about it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not wait. He made it compulsory on us. He placed it in Surah Al-Fatiha, and then He commanded us, can you pray with it? You have to use Surah Al-Fatiha every day. You have to pray with it 17 times a day. You are going to be saying the best dua ever. He did not leave it to me. And now you look to this, you start to understand something else. Why Allah made things compulsory. Many people, the example I gave you, when they see Ramadan, they look at it as a burden. Muslims, why do you have so many acts of worship? And some Muslims think that way, that Allah's burdening me. The salah, siyam, those things are like a burden. It's heavy. Why did Allah do this? Oh, Ya Allah, why did it have to be compulsory? Is it a sunnah? Some people, is it just a sunnah or a compulsory thing? Subhanallah, now you see why. You see the reason. Ibn Ata'illah al-Secondary says the following. لما علم قلة نهوض العباد إلى معاملته. When he knew, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew, people left to themselves, very few of them are going to go and stand between His hands. لما علم قلة نهوض العباد لمعاملته أوجب عليهم وجود خدمته. He made it compulsory on them that they worship Him, that they be in service. He made things compulsory on them. And then He says, أوجب عليك وجود خدمته وما أوجب عليك إلا دخول جنته. He made it compulsory on you to obey Him and worship Him. And in reality, He's making it compulsory on you to enter Jannah. Left to myself, if Ramadan was optional, many of us would say, yeah, it's just a sunnah, not this year. And you would miss on all the benefits that He wants to give. Knowing the fact that left to ourselves, we will not do it. Allah made it compulsory. Basically, it is the following. Allah loves us so much. He wants to give us His love. And He knows that left to ourselves, we are not going to look for it. He wants to give it to you. So He made it compulsory for you to obey, that you have to do this, so that when you do it, first, you enter the Jannah in this life, and you get His love. You get His gift. And Ibn Ata'illah al-Secondary concludes by saying, وَعَجُبَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ قَوْمٍ يُسَاقُونَ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ السَّلَاسِلِ. It is amazing. It's amazing that people are being dragged to Jannah with chains. We're being dragged to Jannah with the chains of compulsory, wajib, obedience. You have to do it. We see it as a load, and it's not a load. Yes, it is a chain for some people, but it's dragging them to Jannah. And in Ramadan, we learn so many concepts. Now you understand even the meaning of the hadith. And this is a Qudsi hadith, and it's a Sahih hadith. ما تقرب عبد إلي بشيء أحب إلي مما افترضته عليه. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this Qudsi hadith now, He says, my servant does not draw closer to me with anything more beloved to me than what I made compulsory on him. What does that mean? I should be very careful with the fard, even in Ramadan. I should not be making Taraweeh and missing Aisha. I should not be making Taraweeh and missing Fajr. The fard is the most important thing. So one legal meaning of it, you'd better be doing what Allah made compulsory on us, is the best thing to seek His nearness. It's the best thing to seek His love. Now you understand it the other way. Look at it the other way. Allah wants to grant us His love. He wants this relation of love and nearness between us and Him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked unto the ibadat and picked the ones that will bring us closer to Him the fastest, and then He made those compulsory. So whether you like it or you don't, you do it. Whether you like it or not, you're going to get Allah's love. Whether you like it or not, He wants to put you into Jannah. And in Jannah, you get that which is bigger than Jannah. Bigger than Ta'ah, bigger than the Jannah of Ramadan in this world, bigger than the Jannah of the hereafter is what we all know. وَرِضْوَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with me. It's bigger than Jannah. The fact that you know what it means that Allah is pleased with me, that I'm pleasing Him? This is bigger than Jannah, but many of us don't realize what it means. They don't realize the pleasure in it. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to tell them, worship me because I'll be content with you, who will do it? Some of us had to be dragged with the chain of obedience. Now I understand why Ramadan is compulsory. Now I understand in Eid, why are Muslims happy in Eid? Many people will ask me, why are you celebrating Eid? non-Muslims one time they came to me and said, I know why you're celebrating Eid, you're done with Ramadan, right? That's why you have no more fasting. I'm saying, no, you missed the point. We love fasting, so why are you celebrating? Why? Notice this, the Muslim celebration to Eid is after major acts of obedience. One in Ramadan, the other is in Hajj. We celebrate, we are happy. Our celebration, our Eid is after we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we're happy. That's why we're celebrating after Ramadan. He enabled me to fast 30 days. He enabled me to worship Him. He gave me all this and you don't want me to say thank you? Can I not? Can't I be one that's shakur, grateful for Him? When I see Allah that way, when I see Ramadan that way, it enables me now to, I want to do something in Ramadan. My heart yearns for it. Ya Allah, you want to give so much. This is the month of forgiveness. This is the month of rahmah. Please make me live long enough that I can enter this month. And I want us to be like this brother. Don't wait. Start day one. And subhanallah, scholars say, جعل الله مرضاتي في العجلة إلى أوامره. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made His ridwan, which is bigger than Jannah, His contentment and His pleasure. Do you know that Allah is pleased with you? How can I tell? A sign. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made His pleasure in me being hasty in obeying Him. You want to know if Allah is pleased with you or not? Do you come to Salah early? How are you with ibadat? Are you? And there is a hadith, أول الوقت رضوان. When it comes to Salah, the very first time of, when adhan is called and it's time to pray, that is the time of Ridwan. Similarly, how am I looking at Ramadan? Am I even before Ramadan, I'm planning and I'm watching such kind of programs? It's a good sign that you're watching this. It's a good sign that I'm trying to plan. It's a good sign that I enter Ramadan. Day one, I start. The very first second, don't miss the very first second of Ramadan. Don't miss Salat al-Maghrib in Ramadan. A final advice, when we break our fast, please, we fast. Don't break the fast, shatter the fast. Slowly, gently. It doesn't have to be meat. It doesn't have to be 3 dishes. The sunnah. We don't shatter our fast. It's like breaking the fast with vengeance. What were we doing? Just slowly, with dates. And slowly, we break our fast with dua. Remembering the dua and slowly. And that will enable us, inshallah, to pray with more focus in Ramadan. One other advice that one would also concentrate on, it's very important the way we enter the month of Ramadan. What we do now, the momentum we have in the beginning. But also it is detrimental, it's very important how we exit the month of Ramadan. قُلْ رَبِّي أَدْخِلْنِي مُدْخَلَ صِدْقٍ وَأَخْرِجْنِي مُخْرَجَ صِدْقٍ. Oh Allah, make my entrance an entrance of truthfulness and my exit the exit of truthfulness. We always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whenever we enter something, whenever we exit something, that we enter and we exit by Him. So how do we exit the month of Ramadan? It requires just a small reflection here. Oftentimes we start the month with momentum and we start obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Days go by and some of us, especially in the last 10 nights, this is where Laylat al-Qadr is, we exert everything, every ounce of energy we have. We put all our time, we exert 100% of our efforts, especially on the nights of 27th, 28th and the 29th. And then when Eid comes, we are completely exhausted. And then we feel happy, we have accomplished it, alhamdulillah, of tahajjud and qiyam and salah. And Eid comes and it's time now to celebrate, it's time to be happy, and we let our guards down. And remember what we said, Shaitan has been chained through the month of Ramadan. When the month of Ramadan is over, he is unleashed. And now Shaitan, if you will, does a counter-attack, furious about what we've accomplished in that month. And when he attacks with this vicious attack, we are laying down all our defenses. And therefore, what happens in the day of Eid? You look to the masajid, empty. The second day, the third day, what we've accomplished, it's like him, I can imagine him sometimes making fun of us. As if he's saying, Ya Allah, look, they've been, what you gave them in 30 days, just let me out for 1 day. And look what he's going to be back where he was. And oftentimes he wins. And if I find myself at the end of Ramadan the same way I was, what did I accomplish? To break the counter attack of Shaitan, here is an advice. The last 10 nights, do not put all your energy, do not put 100% of your energy to the extent that you're exhausted. Save some energy. The day of Eid, I can tell you this is one of the most important days. If you want to retain the momentum of Ramadan, if you want to change Ramadan, if you want to change Ramadan in such a way that it stays with you all the way till the following Ramadan. So, inshallah, make it a point that on the day of Eid, Shaitan is going to attack. And that day is a very special day. Exert extra effort on the day of Eid. I'm not telling you do everything you did in Ramadan. Possibly, it's not possible. But at least make it a point. On the day of Eid, I'm going to be praying Fajr in the masjid. Try with all your energy to pray the 5 prayers on that day in the masjid to break the counter-attack of Shaitan. If you can't, then pray the five daily prayers in the first moment of their time. Do not wait. Your sunnah, be very careful. And then make it a point on the day of Eid. And the following week, I'm going to retain something. I'm still going to be praying Qiyam. Even if it is not full 8 rak'ahs, even if it is not with 1 juz, retain something. Put a goal and tell yourself after Ramadan, especially on the day of Eid, I'm going to be very alert. I'm going to exert extra effort on that day to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the following week, I'll have a goal. Whatever I want to retain with Ramadan. For example, if I didn't used to pray Salat al-Duha, and in Ramadan I used to pray that, I put a focus in my head after Ramadan, the 7 days, the 10 days after Ramadan, I focus on Duha prayers. Every day I'm going to be making it. If you can retain something from Ramadan, the 7 days or 10 days after Ramadan, most likely you can retain it till the next year of Ramadan. And that way we grow. That way each Ramadan adds to us. One other advice that, or something that I need to comment on, because oftentimes we ignore. Some of our sisters in Ramadan, and they are so sincere, and they look forward for Laylatul Qadr, especially the last 10 nights. And then something happens to women in general, and that does not enable them to pray. If they have their period or something like that, and many of them are heartbroken. What can I do? And they feel so much distressed. Oh Allah, is that a punishment? Is Allah punishing me? Now I cannot pray, and it's the last 10 nights. What will I do? I miss Laylatul Qadr. First, it is not a punishment. And let me say this. Ibn Ata'illah al-Secondary says this: إذا فتح لك وجهة للتعرف فلا تبالي وإن قل معها عملك. لأن التعرف هو مهديه إليك، والعمل أنت مهديه إليه، وأينما تهديه أنت إليه مما هو مهديه إليك. Ibn Ata'illah al-Secondary says, whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens for you through His decree something that He is getting to know you, getting you to know Him with, do not care if because of this decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your acts, your deeds, your ta'ah diminishes. We encounter that in our lives. Sometimes something happens in my life, someone in my family is ill, I can't go to Taraweeh, and I'll spend the last 10 nights in the hospital with him. That's a decree from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something happens to many of the sisters, they can't pray. That's a decree from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is getting to know us with a different attribute, giving us ta'ah. And we like this. We like the attributes of Jamal, Al-Wahhab, the most generous, Al-Kareem, the giver, Al-Wahhab, Al-Kareem, Al-Razzaq. We like those attributes. But Allah sometimes gives us other attributes. Al-Qahhar, the irresistible, the compeller, the invincible. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His decree comes, we know that He is getting to know us with those names. And therefore, we comply with those names. And sometimes, the fact that my heart is broken, the fact that I'm sad, the fact that now I'm crying because I'm unable to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than my worship, is more sincere. And a practical advice, if that happened to any sister, here is what you do. The hadith we mentioned earlier. If you're married, or you have a father, you have a brother, you have a mother, remember what we said. You get the reward of the person who eats your food on iftar. If that happens to you on Laylatul Qadr, make sure to send your husband to the masjid. Make sure that he does pray in the masjid, and then make sure that he eats with you at home and cook well that day. That way you still get his reward, inshallah. Finally, I finish with one hadith, because it's the end of the recording, and it's also interesting, the meaning of the hadith. The month of Ramadan, one of the characteristics of this month is the following. The hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam: "Man khutima lahu bisiyam dakhala al-jannah." Whoever his last deed, the last thing he does is fasting, will be admitted to paradise. That, when I look on this hadith, subhanallah, in the month of Ramadan, I'm fasting. if I was to die in the month of Ramadan, actually it's the best month to die in. SubhanAllah, this month is so special to the extent that even death, I would like to say that we ask Allah to do whatever pleases Him. Death in Ramadan is maybe the best time for us. So even death, we're not afraid of. If I was to die and I'm fasting and that's my last deed, I'm admitted to paradise. And my last deed is good. So even death is not bad in Ramadan. What more can we ask for? So to sum up everything we said, that this is the month of true happiness. The happiness of a believer, the happiness of the righteous, and happiness of two things. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives, He gives in this month. And His gift is in the fact that He enables us to obey Him. He enables us to do things that we cannot do other than Ramadan. He gathers the ummah, and you see it, He's so generous, it's not only in me. You look around, the masjid is full, everyone is doing it. And when I see that, I see the vastness of the mercy and the generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That brings hope. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing all this, it means what? He wants to forgive, He wants to give. It instills hope in me. And the second thing, which is what we said, to be happy with the giver. What does it mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives? What does it mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is willing to do so many things so that He enables us to worship Him? He wants us to taste the sweetness of being close to Him in this life. He wants us to enjoy and be happy in the correct way of happiness in this life. He wants us to taste the angelic happiness in this life, and He wants us to enter Jannah in the hereafter. He wants to offer His forgiveness. Wallahu yuridu an yatuba alaykum. Allah wants to grant you tawbah, to grant you repentance and returning back to Him. Allah is willing to give. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to be willing to receive. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير. Don't forget me from your dua in Ramadan.